Tea practice. No matter how many times we do this, we're never gonna figure out what to say in the first 30 seconds. See how I did it all jazz-like, since there's no answer. Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon from Las Vegas. Happy May 6th. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to today's tea practice. Today we're going to be doing some chashi stuff. Some chashi. We're going to be doing some tea design stuff. And for those of you who've been joining us lately, we've been doing the May Tea Challenge, which has been chashi, the chashi challenge. Chashi is C-H-A-X-I, C-H-A-X-I. And it's a Chinese term for a kind of setup of the tea table in which we take together all of our tea tools, tea accessories, tea concepts, and put them all together in one kind of like session. Those of you who have been joining us, thank you so much for participating in the Chashi Challenge. But there's one kind of big question we've gotten, and one kind of big like, oh my god, do I want to do this? And it's, what if I don't have enough teaware to work with the challenge? So today we'd like to just go over some things you can do if you don't have a lot of teaware. Yeah. And if you live in the desert, like us, even we can do it. So, you know, those of y'all with like the beautiful, you know, Belgian countryside and Quebec countryside and everywhere else, Swedish countryside, I'm sure you guys can come up with some ways to spruce up the tea table and still keep it really practical and clean and lovely. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my attempt at trying to summarize things better. Ronan, bonsoir to you. Go for Cha, welcome. Luke CF, Jeremy. As long as Jeremy's here, the world will keep rotating. Clau Espinoza, Tigram Sweden, and Tyler from Hakuna Matata. Welcome to today's tea practice. How are you guys doing today on this lovely, lovely Wednesday? Is it May already? Holy crap. Every day when I log into my kind of work time, I check to see which day of the year it is. And I think it's the 126th or 127th day today. We're about 34% through the year, which is crazy because for a couple weeks there I wasn't logging which day it was. So we jumped from like 27% to like 34%. And I'm like, holy shit. It's really 34% through the year. But it's okay. So yeah. In tea, we are able to just kind of slow down, not worry about the passage of time too much, or maybe be more aware of it. In doing chashi, again, chashi is spelled C-H-A-X-I, and we decided to use the word chashi instead of something like tea design or tea art or tea setup, just because it's not really a super common term that you might find in the tea community, but it's a pretty, it sums up things pretty well, I think. It's more than just trying to take a pretty picture on Instagram. It's more than just trying to make things look good. It's certainly important to make it look visually appealing, right? Because if you are eating, if you are setting up a table, setting up a party, people inevitably experience the thing first with their eyes. And when we're doing a tea setup, even if you want people to focus on the tea, which I definitely want to, I'm a tea person. I want people to focus on the flavor, the characteristics of the tea. I don't want to have them distracted by other things. But we can use the visual landscape to help us bring the tea up to a stage that we'd like it to be perceived for people. So it's a little bit of a, you know, there's a lot going on, and in some ways it can be complicated, but I hope that it also means for you that it's pretty open. You know, there's no one way to execute a chashi. What I want to show you guys today is how to do it without a lot of teaware. So yeah, Shiloh, welcome. I'm glad that you're here today. Joseph Burton, Hidai Stock, Jin from Jin and Tea, welcome. So we've got our, I'm imagining everyone has a gaiwan or a pot. You know, it doesn't have to be a gaiwan, but you have a thing to do your tea session with, right? And even for those of you who already know how to do chashi, already have practice doing chashi, I hope that we can trade some notes together so we can learn from each other. This is meant to be for people who are a little bit nervous about joining the challenge because they might not have the insane teaware collection that a Jeremy or Delphine or a Shiloh or a Jin. I saw you have a lot of nice teaware too, might have. Ronan has a lot of nice teaware. Oh, you guys have a lot of nice teaware. But some people are not teaware people. But just because you're not a teaware person doesn't mean you can't create a chashi. Actually, a lot of my earliest chashi practice came from when I didn't have a lot of teaware. When I was a college student, I'd never been to the farms, I'd never been to Asia, never picked up my knickknacks. If you were following me in my old account, was it Oolong City? Man, that was like 2012, 2011. I was still toting my tea Vonatins and stuff. The less that you have, the more inventive you have to be with the tea session. So yeah, let's get started. While we do this, I'm just gonna get all my bearings together. Let me know what you guys are drinking today on this lovely day. We've been drinking Sencha. We did a pre-order from Yanoko Tea of their 2020 Miyako Nojo and Koyu Sencha. And wow, holy crap, it's amazing. Hojicha is not 2020 though.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. I bet you it's not.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay, you're wrong. It's my favorite sport when Steven's wrong. The wrong. I'm just kidding. So we've been having some Sencha today from 2020, which is pretty incredible. I hope you guys have been, maybe you guys have some green teas on the way as well. Yeah, chashi, we picked this month to do it because springtime is about to happen. It's the changing of seasons, and I feel like I'm not an artistic person. I'm not an outdoors person. I usually like being outdoors. I enjoy it when I'm outside, but it takes someone to drag me out to be outside. So our family never grew up camping. We didn't go hiking very much. But I think in my tea practice, I've become a little bit more aware of how things change outside just because of this practice of doing chashi. So chashi, we were talking about this in the Discord this morning. It's not primarily a mainland China thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but from what I've observed, chashi is actually a Taiwanese concept. You can certainly find chashi in China as well, but this whole concept of like a clean tea table in which you layer different fabrics and accessories and kind of arrange the table in a way that suits what the tea experience is that you'd like to create is kind of a Taiwanese concept. And go look through your Instagram feeds. You'll notice that your Taiwanese tea friends will have kind of like the setup. The people who are a little bit more influenced by Taiwan, they'll have more likely a dry setup without as much of the gongfu tray with lots of water going around and the teapots and stuff. That's more like a mainland China thing. And that's not to say that in Taiwan they don't have that, but Taiwan has just a little bit more of that kind of put a cloth down, arrange the cups, have a fairness pitcher, and then kind of like cleanly pour tea into the cups that you kind of put on a coaster and stuff like that. And part of that, in being influenced by Japanese tea culture is the idea of bringing nature inside. The tea is so inextricably linked with nature, right? So a lot of the aesthetics of tea, one of the easiest way to go about it is just to use natural things, because tea is such a subtle concept. If you bring in loud things like perfumes and candles and big bouquets, tea is so quiet that it's going to get drowned out. And that's why we have this image of, I'm not trying to rag on it, but the whole afternoon tea setup where people focus more on like the tea or tea sandwiches and the big bouquet and the doilies, because all those things are like, rah, 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 rah. And then the tea is like, I'm an unflavored Darjeeling. What will I do? It's so scary out there. Tea is very subtle, but I think that's why a lot of us are drawn to it. It's something you can work with. You can do so many different things to it to lift it up just a tiny bit. And the beauty is in the details. And yeah, so in all of that, if you are not sure what to start with your chashi, one of the easiest ways is to do nature stuff. So I'm going to limit myself to just a gaiwan and the 3 cups. And we're going to actually not choose the tea first. We're going to create the chashi using this stuff that we collected from this morning. So me and Steven had a fun work morning. We went out, we took a walk, got some stuff. We got some stuff from around the house that we don't want anymore. Oh gosh, this is really dusty. So we're gonna try to use all the stuff that we've never used before on our tea table today. So none of the stuff that's in here I've ever used before. I have a lot of knickknacks around the house, and I admit it makes it easier to make a chashi when I have a lot of tea accessories, but you can do it with just stuff you find. And we live in Las Vegas, again. I always like saying that because I'm a little bit salty about it. It's not very green, but even during our kind of like short venture outside, we're able to find all this stuff. So, you know, stuff on the side of the road that's gonna get cut off anyway by someone who's trimming off the sides of the landscaping, you know. Twigs, we thought like, oh, all the Canada people are going to complain because it's still not springtime there. It's like, we'll show them. We'll use some twigs too. I got, more twigs. We got some scarves that we never use because why would you use a scarf in the desert? No, it gets cold in Vegas, but not right now. It's really hot here. More twigs. I got this World Tea Expo pouch. So you'd think, oh, it's nice. It's tea. You know, there's even tea leaves in the back. But something about me, it's like, because I do tea stuff all day, every day, I want my other things, like my shopping bags and my, like if I go to the grocery store, I don't want to have tea stuff on me. It's almost like, dude, you already do tea all day. I want like pandas or like sushi on my shopping bag. So I'm never going to use this as a reusable shopping bag. So maybe we can figure out what we can do with that. A couple like just stuff, like this is from Taiwan. It's a pineapple cake factory bag that I don't want to throw away because my friend gifted it to me, but I don't use it, you know, just all this extra stuff. Parts of gifts that I never use, and then a bunch of just natural stuff, okay? So let's see, I haven't planned this out at all, just so we're like nice blank slate, and if you guys have any ideas, let me know, but we're gonna try to use all of this stuff and see where it goes. I saw that y'all were drinking, what? Fire. Steven, what else are people drinking from all the way? Shui-Shan. Pu'er. Wow. People are still in like, you guys still in winter mode. We're like doing our green teas here already. Yeah. So, I guess a question I can ask is, have you guys started using or tried using stuff from the outdoors to bring into the tea table? And yes, this is a mess, but I didn't want you guys to come in here being like, wow, it's already done. How did you figure that out? I'm gonna take a few cues from Stefan at Tea Masters blog. He did a beginner's chashi session where he showed leaves as a coaster. These are going to make really, really nice coasters, actually. So we're going to try to make a nice looking tea session with this mess. Okay? Wow, I'm getting stressed out. It's really messy. We better make sure that there's no insects that get on. So, couple things you need to remember when you're trying to gather the stuff. Just in your general vicinity, be aware of which things are poisonous to people or animals. You know, for example, this here is a really popular plant that we have in Vegas. It's called Nandina. It's called Japanese heavenly bamboo. And it's a really long-lived plant. So this is the winter form of it. It's got some springtime sprigs too. And then it's got these flowers that turn into berries. And I really like this plant because, number one, it's really abundant here in Vegas. We don't have any lack of it. And number two, the leaves and flowers last a really long time. So not only am I choosing things that look nice, I've gotten used to finding pieces outdoors that last a really long time. Because I really hate bringing something nice in, and then I cut it off the tree, then I feel bad about the tree because I'm a baby. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, tree. Like, I took something away from you, and I want to do my best to make it last longer. But then it rots within a couple days. I don't like that, so I tend to choose things that don't last. That don't degrade too quickly. And for those of you who've ever done any reading about Japanese tea culture, this is actually not what they recommend in Japanese tea aesthetics. If they are doing flower arrangements, typically the ideal is for flowers that actually don't last very long, because you want to appreciate the transience of the plant. You don't want to like dwell too much. You want to be comfortable with the flow of life. The cherry blossoms are only here for a couple of weeks and then they are gone. You know, that kind of thing. It's very Japanese. It's Only in that moment will you experience that. But then adapt it to what your personal tea practice is. This is what's so cool about Chashi, is you can take theory away from what we know from the tea masters, from the books that we read, but you gotta make it your own. And we're in the desert, and things grow really slow here, and if I replaced my flowers every single day, there would be no flowers in the neighborhood for the little children in our neighborhood to enjoy. So I pick things that actually do last longer because we're in the desert, you know? So yeah, think about that. So even if these are, you know, the Japanese Nandina heavenly bamboo plant is actually poisonous to cats and dogs, I'm okay using it as long as you're aware of it. So if you have cats and dogs in the house, please make sure that whatever you're picking is not going to be poisonous to them. Usually anything with bright red berries is a little bit of a no-no. In the summer, these turn bright red, and so there's like a warning kind of thing. So we just gotta make sure none of this drops on the floor for Bella, because that dog will vacuum anything. If you have cats that really like to be on your, you know, tea table, get a baseball bat and swat. I'm just kidding. Jesus, that has escalated quickly. Yeah, just be aware that some things are not, you know, you got to be careful with some of these plants. Another thing is make sure that when you're out, try to like feel the plant and smell it. And if it has a really, really strong smell, consider if you want that on your tea table. Again, the tea table is very subtle. Your tea needs to be the highlight of the session, right? So if you use rosemary or really strong smelling jasmine or roses, maybe use them just lightly so that you're not filling your table full of jasmine aroma. Or maybe you could pick some jasmine flowers and then brew a jasmine tea. But you know what I mean? If you're trying to show off a dansong, for example, or a green tea that's really, really fresh, and you want people to, you know, sniff the gaiwan, and even if the nose is over here, if the aroma of whatever you're picking is in the air, whether it be grass or flowers, roses, whatever, how strong do you want that aroma to be? You know, just think about that a little bit. And I'm not a florist, I'm not an expert or anything. This is just more like me having done this before. I'll usually make some kind of arrangement before the workshops that I teach. I'll just go outside the building wherever I'm teaching and try to find whatever landscaping shit they have on the side of the building, if I'm not here in Vegas. And sometimes I'll bring in like nasty things, like stuff that's like with sap, and then I pick it up and then there's like sap all over my tea tray, or, you know, there's insects or whatever. Just number one, practical before aesthetics. Pick stuff that is safe, clean, relatively easy to clean. Dandelions are beautiful, but and you just got dandelion seeds everywhere. Yeah, you'll learn about this stuff, and it's fun. You know, you get to like be aware of how your neighborhood grows and changes throughout the seasons, and that's a really tea thing. You know, that's like the kind of thing that the tea masters behind us from like long ago be like, yeah, these 21st century people actually going outside and watching the seasons. It's great. So make an 18th century tea master proud and go outside today and make some Chashi stuff happen. All right, so we picked relatively safe stuff and are aware of the things that are kind of, you know, just got to make sure the dog doesn't eat them. This is oleander. Oleander is also poisonous to dogs and cats, so make sure, just make sure Bella doesn't eat these. They're very brightly colored too. I don't know why the universe made them so beautiful and so deadly. Maybe because of that reason. Yeah. Yeah, and they don't smell very much. Only if you kind of dig your ooh, that's really cloying. So, holy crap, I usually don't use oleander because I usually don't like to bring it in for the dog. But it's like, oh my goodness gracious. Holy crap, Steven, that's really lush. So I'm gonna put this away from the center of the tea, because this is really, really strong if you accidentally dig your head into it. All right. So, gaiwan. I don't have a tray right now. Usually I use an IKEA tray, but I'm going to use something that I haven't used before. So think about some things in your house that are sentimental value to you that you would really like to kind of make use of, but then you don't because you just don't. And this is one of those examples. Again, this reusable bag from Pineapple Cake Factory in Taiwan. it's got a lot of significance to me because my friend gifted it to me. He knows I love pineapple cake. He just surprised me with it, so I was really, wow, amazing. So there are memories stored in your items, right? And while I can't use this for anything else because I have so many bags lying around, it's a little bit too small to use as a grocery bag, I found it today and I could use it as my tea tray cloth thing. Right, Steven? I'm so bad at folding things. There we go. Yeah. See, it's nice and organic looking. Look at how nice that looks. Guys, if you're in Taiwan, you can go into stores and they'll charge like $20 for one of these, right? Right? I'm serious, okay? Like handmade, linen looking, really like natural looking. Looks like you walked in from the forest after forest bathing session. These materials can get very expensive, so I'm really happy about the way this looks, actually. I'm not kidding, right, Steven? Like some of those, like this is from Uniqlo, but you've seen some of the tea people have these like beautiful linen, handmade woven fabrics, and they're really beautiful and ethically made, and I really like it. But I'm broke, so I can't buy a lot of those, and they can go up to like $100, $200, $300, even in Taiwan. Like in Taiwan, you know. So if you can find upcycled things that look just as kind of natural, yeah, it looks pretty good, don't you think? Yeah. Sonia, Dylan, Robin, let's see, who else did I miss out on? Eric, Delphine, Nicholas, Cha Chai Tea, Suman Cha, all our friends are here. Nice to see you guys. Marco from Steve Tea, I think I saw you there too. Okay, so we got our tray. That already looks so nice, doesn't it? Just, I'm so happy with it already. I get excited easily. And then I'm gonna borrow something from Tea Masters. This is Stefan Erler's idea. He used dried up leaves as tea coasters. So for those of you who are like, I don't have any tea coasters, we'll try to steal his idea. Yeah, those look really, really nice. So I just try to find the biggest leaves possible that are not so spiky. So these are kind of spiky, but I saw some rose leaves and I'm like, oh, I'll get those. But not only are roses spiky, the leaves are spiky too. See, all the little beautiful details of life you learn when you're trying to make a chashi. It's wonderful. Again, we're making some 18th century tea masters proud of us. You know, like, are those really 21st century douchebags? They're so mindful. They're so aware of the intricacies of nature. Amazing. You know I'm kidding, right? But just funsies. We're just doing it for funsies. All right. So yeah, wow, look at that. That lash looks pretty good. Right? Yeah. That looks really good. So I didn't come up with that, by the way. That's Stefan from Tea Masters blog. I think that looks really lovely. And I picked leaves that are pretty glossy. So if something drips on them, they're not going to tear apart if the tea is wet. You know, these leaves have this kind of gloss covering, which protects them from the harsh sunlight out here in the desert. So they'll probably hold up really well, I imagine. We can see how it goes. And again, I'm picking things that are not going to fall apart on first use for the tea table, because hopefully we can use these things throughout the week here in Vegas. Okay, yeah. Next thing. Let's show off what Steven did earlier. So this is something I picked up from someone else. This is why chashi is so fun. You can borrow things from other people. This is something I saw in Dongding from one of the farmers that works at Shoen. I was really surprised. He's like, do you know Miss Tai? I'm like, Miss Tai? You mean Shoen? Tai Seattle? He's like, doi. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. And this tea master had it's basically like a Sprite bottle that he carved out to be a tea scoop. And I'm like in Dongding, it's really misty outside. Like there's literally mist outside the dude's house. And there's just like, you know, the tea's amazing and the guy's amazing, and you'd expect that if you're in a tea master's house, tea maker, like just old school dude, they'd have like the dopest teaware, right? Like Yixing teapot from the 1960s, authentic Junie. Then he's got like this Sprite bottle that he cut and is using as a tea scoop. And I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this, because it's not very beautiful. It's really not. I mean, how can it be compared to like, where's the Mihai tea scoop? Yeah. compared to something that's like beautifully handmade by Sven from Mihai Tea Scoops, you know. He took the time to pick like an aged like piece of wood, and like it's really beautiful and well made. And then here I am in Taiwan, like dead center Taiwan, and Dongding Tea Maker guy has a plastic tea scoop, and I'm like, okay. So I told Steven about it, and so Steven made this for me today. Yeah, it cost us $1. How much were these maple syrup? These are actually the maple water bottles that we got for sale. Canada Friends. $1 what?
$1.19.
$1.19, yeah, so $1.19. Actually, no, each one is like 60 cents because there's 2 of them. So if you'd like to have the other one, let us know and we will send it to you. So tea scoop. So I'm going to use this to we're going to use this to put the tea inside. And again, we haven't picked out which tea we want for the setup. I'm almost, just because we're like MacGyvering this process, we're going to make the setup first and then pick the tea that matches what comes out of this experiment. And again, this is just funsies, you know, like don't go to a Japanese tea master and say that Ree told you to do this, or do it. Yeah, let's see what they say. All right, and then yeah, once you have your kind of like everything that you need. So I decided not to use a pitcher for today. If you don't have a pitcher at home, you can use a cream pitcher, like a gravy pitcher, as a fairness pitcher to like distribute. But I feel pretty okay enough with my Gaiwan to just kind of like go back and forth, keep it simple. I got my scoop to show my tea leaves, you know, nice and white, color on the inside too. Water resistant, so yeah, we're going. So once you have your kind of setup, I showed this to you the last time we did the chashi. Make sure that your pot, even with our crazy MacGyver setup, is your base, right? This is your HQ. You're working from your home base. As a tea, you know, server, tea preparer, tea space holder, you're in charge of what's going on, right? If you have friends over, if you're here, if your significant other, your hopefully someday significant other, I'm not gonna judge, is here, you're in charge of making the space a good space for them, right? So you want to make sure that you have your pot in a place that you're kind of comfortable going and pouring from it. And then if you need to reach for something else, like give them their tea, you want to have this kind of, I almost like to draw a circle around the tea so that I don't have to like go over the pot. Number one, it makes it less likely that I bump it if I accidentally knock it over with an elbow. If I just have it a little bit slightly off from when I need to handle the cups, versus this. It's a very small adjustment. But this here, suddenly, it's more likely for me to knock this over. This here, I can give people their cups, pour the same way, all right? And then I'm able to put my tea scoop on the side if I want to display. So small adjustments you can make to kind of adjust for things, yeah. Once we have this basis, I'm happy with this basis, right? We don't need to go overboard. Kettle's over there. Sorry, I can't make a natural kettle. We're gonna try to design around this. Yeah, you guys happy with this just setup here? Yeah. Let me see what I missed out. Yeah, tell Steven if you want a custom maple water bottle scoop. Ane, welcome. She says, I just read his blog post about using real leaves. He even used berries that had already dropped on the floor and assembled them on a tea table just as he found it initially. See, that's beautiful. And as someone who hasn't taken formal Japanese tea ceremony, the few tidbits I've gleaned from it is that nature can't be made more beautiful. As human beings, we can't make it look better. Both on like the kind of spiritual, conceptual level, we cannot make a tree that looks better than the tree outside. Because it's the way it is. And then number two, because we're so accustomed to seeing that outside just on like a scientific level, when someone sees something that you brought from the outside in and left it more like a natural state without trying to mess with it too much, it looks more authentic to them. It registers with them as like, hey, that's a leaf. That's not like something that kind of like cut off and stuff. So this kind of like, the place where I tore the leaf off of the plant, I kind of left it because when you see it in real life, on the ground, it looks like this. And so it kind of adds a little bit of more just real going on the tea table, right? It's not supposed to be perfect. There's almost that uncanny feeling you get when everything is arranged a little bit too perfect. And I think that's what makes stock photos so creepy, is when you have a stock photo of like a bouquet. It's like pink, white, blue, dark pink, small, big, you know, like it's perfectly arranged, and you're like, But you'll notice that the most beautiful tea arrangements, if you walk into a tea shop or see someone, even on Instagram, there are some real masters on Instagram of this. The way that they arrange the table is mimicking nature rather than trying to make it better. And I'm not very creative, so the way it looks like there, I'll just try to use that. So let's try doing just twigs, okay? So this is for y'all people who are winter people, okay? We'll do two versions. I want to use first the twigs, kind of like make it a winter kind of chashi. So I'm going to use all of my kind of dark color and kind of dried leaf stuff. So if spring hasn't come yet, you guys still have an opportunity to make your table look really nice. So dark leaves, I'm going to kind of put it beside my tea scoop right here. I'm not going to make it too overblown because I still want the leaves to come through. And I'm going to choose a color of the decoration that's not the same color as the tea leaves, I think. Right, Steven? This here is brown. I'm probably going to use a tea that's going to pop beside the brown and in the white. Because if I choose like a roasted oolong, the leaf here is brown. The tea leaves here are going to be brown. They're going to kind of blend in a little bit too much. So I'm already thinking about what I'm going to put in there as I'm building. And I'm just winging this, okay? Like, don't think that I'm not winging it. Yeah. And then if you can, you know, try to not make it too spiky. You don't want to poke yourself accidentally. I know that this is maybe common sense, but I've been guilty before of trying to make something look too nice on Instagram, and then like I want the thing to come out feeling just as good as it looks. If it's beautiful on Instagram, I want to make it feel good when I'm making tea. And I am someone who, again, I'm actually very anxious as a person. Surprise! And if the tea setup isn't to my comfort, I can make a lot of mistakes on the tea table, you know? So I try to make sure that the way that I set it up is not just beautiful, but also comfortable for me. So I'm going to put all the branches on just the side. Let me adjust this here. There we go. Wow, that's looking pretty nice, actually. I'm going to leave all the branches to the side over here. I've just kind of broken them up to kind of, make sure that they bunch up nicely. I'm not going to put any here because I want to leave this here for me as a right-handed person to pour comfortably. Now, if you're a left-handed person, all the spiky shit is like, what the hell, dude? It's kind of like, whoa. Leave that clear. Leave this here pretty clear. So I'm still pretty comfortable with the way that I have my setup. Yeah. And all of this stuff might look like really, really tiny details, but when you're trying to make that perfect tea session, or imperfect, you know, these tiny adjustments can really make a difference. People can sense your fear. They're like, what are animals that can sense fear? Dogs? No, I forgot what it was. Like, deer? Pigs? What senses fear? Dogs. Let's go with... No, dogs are too cute. What are things that sense fear? Geese. Geese sense fear, right? Geese sense fear. So when you're walking in the park, and even if you're just a little bit scared of the geese, you're like, okay, like, that makes me a little uncomfortable. They're gonna pick up on it, okay? And they're gonna go after you because they can sense it. Same thing with a tea table. Because it's just hot water, leaves, pouring, the tiniest bit of discomfort that you telegraph is going to show when you're making tea. And as someone who can be very uncomfortable in front of people, I know this. So I try to make sure to, you know, set up the tea table in a way that makes me feel happy too. Like, it looks nice, it gives me confidence. People walk in, oh, there's a bug right there. He's really cute. He can join us. That's fine. He's like a friendly-looking bug. Don't kill him. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna fan these out over here. There we go. Don't gotta go overboard, right? Yeah. Shiloh says, your Chashi can sense your fear. Yeah, as long as you're having fun, I think it's good. There was a quote that we got from, it's from StarCraft. A person who's a genius cannot beat someone who practices hard. A person who practices hard cannot beat someone who enjoys himself. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So again, a person who's a genius can't beat someone who practices hard. But a person who practices hard can't beat someone who's having a good time. So as long as you have a good time, I think it's okay.
Who said that?
Stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a Protoss player.
Splice. Stats.
Okay, Steven, we're just... I don't want them to think that we're massive nerds, because... No, we are massive nerds. Yeah. And then this here looks kind of like big, but I took this from a tree along the side of the kind of like pathway that would have been knocked off anyway. You know when like the landscapers come through and they kind of cut through branches and stuff? Don't take things from the trees that don't need to be taken out, just because there's always like a bit of the tree that can just be taken out. This applies if you're trying to get like flowering branches or like just a beautiful long like branch of a plant or tree. There's always going to be that one sticking out. Maybe take one from the back so people who are walking along the plant can still enjoy the plant. Just try to be as like low intervention as possible, because it's just tea, right? You're not trying to impress the CEO or anything. You're just trying to impress yourself. And then I think I'm just gonna wrap it around like this. Steven, doesn't it look pretty nice?
I like it.
Yeah, it's working out. Or maybe like over here. Over here. Yeah, there we go. I think that's... No, it's a little bit not... The angle's not correct. So it's just not... Something's not right. So if you're not sure, just try it out again. Where should we put this, Steven? How about here on the side? Just to kind of define the boundaries of the tea session. Yeah? I wish our table was bigger. There we go. Yeah, how's that? Just to define the boundaries of tea session. Yeah? So you guys could see it from this angle here, but I'm going to kind of lift it up. So I'm just going to put the pine branch in a way that kind of just defines the outline of the session. Because now we're on a big table, there's no kind of boundary. Now I'm just defining where it ends and where it begins. Does that look okay, Steven? Mm-hmm. And then we got these little pine cones. See how nice they look? So beautiful. $0. Wow. And then we're going to put them here on the sides. Yeah. Coming together. Steven, can you hold up the camera a little bit further away so that we can show it off? Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, looking okay? I think it's looking pretty good, Steven. Does it look okay?
Yep.
Yeah. And then maybe just a little bit of texture. So both color and texture, right? I'm going to take one of these out. Again, it's like a work in progress. Don't do this when your friends are already there, unless you're doing a Chashi challenge with them, then okay. A little bit more texture, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah! I'm pretty happy with that. How's it look? Looks okay? Yeah. What do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Agree.
I
like it.
All right. Just a little bit of green there. No, that's too much. Changing my mind. And then other upcycled things you get from the house. If you have an IKEA, I know you have things in your house from IKEA that you don't use. Okay? If you have an IKEA but you don't have things from IKEA that you don't use, meaning you use everything you've ever bought from IKEA, salute to you, because I've never met such a person. It's from IKEA. I bought this last year thinking I would use it for Tea Masters Cup to like present the ingredients, but I didn't. So then I've never used them. So technically it's not upcycled, but look how beautiful it'd be as a vase, right? So different textures, right? We've got the matte white. The matte white's kind of like our tea setup. We've got the soft texture of the cloth there. We've got the kind of like pine tree thing going on over here. We've got the green of the teacups. And then glass gives another dimension to the chashi. You know, cloth, porcelain, natural materials, glass, you're trying to play here with texture and the way that things look through. And if I put one more material here that's like porcelain, for example, I don't know, like one of these. It's just almost like too much white now, right? Just a little bit too much white. So instead of using a porcelain base, I'm going to use a glass base, which again is IKEA. This is probably like $1, you know, that I've never used because I have never used it in my life. And then we're going to take some of the jasmine we got from outside. And when you cut your flowers, again, I'm not a florist, but just because I've fucked up before, I know what to avoid now. Try to cut a little bit further down from where you need. So I only really want the flowers, but I'm giving myself some space here. So if I'm trying to arrange the arrangements, I can kind of tear off some leaves, give myself some space to work with. And again, this is jasmine, so it does have a smell, but I'm not going to use too much of it, just a tiny bit. Ooh, I want to use some rocks so I can give it some space. So these are rocks that I collected on my hikes and stuff. I'm going to put that into the base so I can give my plant some height. We don't have a lot of plants in Vegas, but we have a lot of rocks, so that's why I have a lot of these. Nice rocks. Ooh. Steven's gonna kill me if I break this guy one. Then yeah, I'm giving my plant some height, and then now it's gonna floppy, right? What do you do with that? This is where all these extra foliages come in. I'm having too much fun. Yeah, let's see. What do I want to? Ooh, how about these curly things, Steven? Give me these curly things. Yeah. Ooh, look how beautiful that is. I don't even want to use this anymore. It just has that natural, like when you're out in nature, just look at that curve. Isn't it so pretty? So I don't want to mess with that too much. I'm just going to angle it in such a way that when it's facing, the way it's facing is outside. Because you need to angle things towards whoever you're making tea for. If you're making tea for yourself, angle it towards yourself. But if you're making tea for other people or for Instagram Live, yeah, I'm going to angle it towards you guys. Just needing some help. Trial and error. There we go. Yeah. It looks better from my end than your guys' end. So I'm just going to adjust the... There we go. That almost looks too leafy. So I'm going to take off just a couple leaves. In Taiwan, I see people make these arrangements with a tea table, and they'll like argue about the placement of like one stem. Like, no. Not right there. That doesn't make any sense. No. I'm like, holy crap. And then these little things that you take off, wherever you put them on the table, just drop them where they are. Just so it looks like you kind of drop them there. Yeah. And now we've got our tea table. Right, Steven? Looks pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not bad. And so we have this kind of like greenish kind of... There's a little bit of green lacking over here, so I'm going to put this. Take a little bit more of these over here. There we go. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. So we got our brown, green, pale green, brown, green, brown. Yeah, we got a setup. Yeah. Does it look okay? Yeah. So Shiloh, the leaf coasters are again from Tea Master's blog, Stefan. He is a master of this stuff. He will take in stuff from the outside and add it to the chashi. And for those of you who do have stuff you can work with that's not just all of this extra stuff, you can integrate these natural objects with what you already have to make it look better. But this is nothing I've used on the table today, is something we've used before, which is pretty cool. So, what tea do you think would you expect from this setup here? Let me show you what the setup looks like again. So what tea would you expect from this setup? Yeah, it's got a kind of like wintry looking, pine tree looking, Christmas looking thing. This would be a really nice Christmas chashi actually. I wonder if I can lighten up this color here. It's a little bit too green. I'm gonna fold it over. Do you like it better with the leaves down, Stephen, or with the leaves up? Or you can alternate them.
Right.
We can alternate them. Hey! No, I don't like that. I like it better when it's even. What do you think? Yeah, no. I think I like it better just by itself. Yeah? Yeah, I think so too. And this is where your basic tea wear is so awesome because it looks good with everything. Yeah. So Eric says Baihao Oolong, a darker tea. Yabao, I like Yabao. I like that idea. I like the idea of Baihao Oolong because Baihao Oolong is very colorful but also dark. I like Yabao because Yabao, those little tiny buds, are very kind of natural looking as well, so they look good in this kind of organic setup. Delphine says middle-aged Shangpuer. I agree, it's kind of got that earthy thing going on. What I would say this probably won't do good with is like fresh green tea.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel very fresh green tea like. There's like
tea.
old twigs, dried up leaves. They're not ugly, but they don't feel like they're fresh. So I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's a fresh green tea thing. I wouldn't say, yeah, they're just some ideas that work better than others, I think. Like I wouldn't say Japanese green tea. It doesn't feel very Japanese. I would say High Mountain Oolong, you know, a less like floral one, maybe like a winter Taiwanese oolong, right? Even the way that you deliver it to whoever is having tea with you, we're having a winter High Mountain Oolong. It feels like it matches a little bit better versus like we're having a fresh spring oolong. It's like, even if the person who you're with is not going to think about it too much, the fact that it goes together is going to affect them, you know? Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that. See little bits of texture. So when you're out in your walks today, look for a little bit of texture, you know? Like this is just dried up flower bulbs, you know? But I looked at them like, wow, looks like it could just add a little bit of pop of somewhere. And it takes practice, and I'm not saying this is the best looking chashi in the whole universe, but I really like it. It actually gives me a lot of joy. And I mean it. Like, when you're able to make a tea setup that makes you happy, it makes you want to make better tea. It just does. If I wasn't in front of Instagram Live right now and, you know, doing this with you guys and I haven't made a setup, I'm not going to be as motivated to make the tea as good as possible, you know? But because we spent, 30 minutes doing this? Of course I'm going to make something really good with this. Yeah. Dylan says Jinjinmei or the black tea. I agree. Black tea would look good here too. White tea. I like white tea. I like the aged pu'er. I like the yabao. Baihao with the beautiful white tips. Yeah, let's see what it looks like. We're not going to brew any tea today, but I want to see what it looks like if I put, let's say a white tea. There's a white tea over there. Yeah. Looks good, yeah. And then think about what you would do differently too. I'm not saying do it the way that I did, but think about what you do differently. Like, would you put something else in like this little vase thing? Would you use a different mat? You can use placemats from your kitchen. You can use old scarves and stuff like that. So final piece, white tea. Yeah. Oh wow, that looks almost like it's too. It's gonna blend in too much. Steven gave me this white tea here. Look at this. Look at this white tea. It's almost like, did you accidentally drop in some of the things from your setup into the... So I probably would use this for the setup because it looks like
just the leaves you
you
picked
just
off
put
the
whatever leaves you that fell off. I'm looking for a silver needle. Let's have Steven look for it. Eric says Ruby 18 white. Yeah. I like it. And it's pretty comfortable. I think I'm gonna put, this here, I might want to put somewhere else. Maybe I'll put it, I'm showing this over here for you guys, but I'm gonna put it closer to where my guests would be, so I'm not gonna knock it over, you know? I've just so many situations where I'm having tea with people and they made a beautiful setup. And then just the design of the tea table make some bad things happen, and then everyone feels uncomfortable. Yeah, just avoid it. I'm sure it's happened to you too. I've done it before, where I'm like, just because I'm trying to make things look too nice, I think too much about the aesthetics and not about how something's going to look really messy or spill, or it's going to be really hard to clean, or it stains my teaware. So, yeah. Yeah, look how nice that looks. I dig it. Looks good. So this is a Yunnan silver needle. It's a little yellow. I think a Fujian silver needle would look even better, but I think it's okay. Yeah, looks good. And what I mean by this looking better than the other stuff, because it's actually buds, it looks like tea. The other stuff was just like dried leaves. So it's almost like, Reed, did you just whatever crackly leaves that you found you put into the scoop? Yeah. Your scoop looks really good, Steven.
Thanks.
This is something we could do. How much would you guys pay for a scoop like this?
$200.
200 NT. 200 Taiwan dollars? That's still a lot.
Yeah.
Like $7 for an upcycled maple water bottle. If it's 200 NT, that's 2 sides. So
Yeah, you got 2 scoops.
yeah, 2 scoops. For those of you who are wondering what the hell is going on, I borrowed this idea from a Dongding farmer, and yeah, he had a scoop carved out from a bottle. Sometimes when you have this image of what it's going to look like when you walk into a Dongding farmer's house, and you think he's going to have some like ROC Qing Dynasty like antique stuff, and then he has a Sprite bottle as a tea scoop, and it really makes you think about things differently. Okay, really quick. Before we run out of time, let's just really quick with the same base, okay? I'm going to keep the coasters, I'm going to keep the cloth, I'm going to remove everything else, and I'm going to make it spring, okay? Now that I have an idea of how it looks like, I think we can do this. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to take out all the dead stuff. It's beautiful. It's the transience of life, Steven. Don't
It's
mind
not dead,
me.
it just doesn't have leaves on it.
I'd like to see you plant this and bring it back to life then. So I'm going to remove all the cones, and so we have our blank slate again, right? I'm going to do something and flip these, pop it, just so it looks like we're doing a completely different setup. And then my secret weapon, these beauties here. They're so beautiful. God, they're really, really gorgeous. Put this right. No, it's too big now. So what you need to make sure that you're doing when you're dealing with a lot of like foliage is make sure you're not over dressing the table. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. These are tough motherfuckers. That's why they last so long. And I'm going to put this here. There we go. All right, and then just a little bit of color from the oleander, which we'll make sure that Bella does not eat. Again, make sure that whatever you're picking up from your walk today, please make sure that it's not poisonous to your animals, and if it is, make sure they stay off the tea table. They don't eat stuff. Yeah? And then these guys, I can even just leave it like this, really, but I'm gonna take a sprig, the same vase that I'd made earlier. I'm gonna add one more component. And suddenly it's like really springtimey. Wow, wow, that looks really good. See, a lot of this is just trial and error, and you're like, wow, okay, that doesn't look horrible. You know? And then whatever this is here, you can bring down to the table just to kind of like tie it all together. So I'm gonna kind of make a little border right here. Yeah, okay. Little pink stuff. Yeah, and then now suddenly we're dealing with like a really different chashi here. Aren't we, Steven? Yeah, we can use some of this stuff too. The same thing I used for the wintry one, but I'm gonna kind of remove some of the twigs. Just so it's a little bit less spiky, a little less brown. Don't just do flowers, leaves help make it look more natural. What you can do, you can look up pictures of ikebana or flower arrangement from Japan. And yeah, be inspired by what they come up with. And whatever your style is, whether you like something more simple or like something more decorative, something more kind of overblown and like you just want to like have a party, make Mardi Gras happen with your flowers, yeah, make it happen. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Actually, I don't want this pink here. And I don't want this here. I'm gonna rethink that. I'm gonna put this over here so that this red is so deep and dark that it's always forever going to overshadow what's in the scoop, okay? So I'm gonna move this over here just so it's not overshadowing what the tea is. And then we have something a little bit more springtime. And then something you can do is just on the side of the cup so that you're not making your guests feel uncomfortable about knocking over your stuff. Just put something on the sides of the cups. Or even if you make them uncomfortable, be like, don't worry about it. You're not going to mess anything up. Something small like that. Just so people don't think that they're messing up your drive. Goes a long way. Because a lot of people feel like when they're walking into a tea session, they're like, oh, I don't want to mess anything up. I don't do anything wrong. Which is simple, like, don't worry. We're just playing around. And yeah, there we go. What do you think we would use for this? I'm thinking like, yeah, so this is the finished product, really, really quick. Springtime this time without remove the pine over there. So a very different setup, right? A little bit more romantic, I guess, a little bit more flowery. Yeah, I would say for this particular setup, what would you expect? I would expect, I'm not going to say anything, I'm going to wait for you guys to think about it. I would expect probably an oolong tea, like a light to medium oolong tea. I'd also expect a black tea. Black tea tends to be a little bit kind of romantic, like a floral black tea, not like a really strong black tea. Or maybe like an Assam could do well too. It kind of has this kind of classic, reminds me a little bit of the way that my mom makes flower decorations with a lot of blooms and kind of spray and stuff like that. Yeah, something kind of floral and has some personality, a little bit perfumey, you know? What would not go well here? I think a shopuar is kind of weird. I think heicha would be kind of weird in this setup here, right? Hojicha is a little weird. It just, again, has more of that kind of springtimey thing going on. But if you disagree with me, if you think of another way to do this, if you're like, why did Ree put the flower like that? I want to do it that way. Then you should probably go do it, because everyone's tea session, tea chashi is going to be a little bit different. I arranged flowers the way that my mom taught me, because my mom arranged flowers a certain way. I pick certain things because it reminds me of the flowers I grew up with. I pick certain things because we're here in Vegas and the flowers we have are a little bit different from what's there with you. Maybe there are things in your neighborhood that remind you of, you know, some good memories that mean something to you. Maybe you grew up with the smell of honeysuckle. I find that people who are from the South tend to say that a lot. Oh, honeysuckle, it just blooms and I don't even know what season it blooms in, you know? And that's going to resonate with you during the tea session, you know? It's going to make it taste better. It's going to make you brew tea better. It's going to have a better just overall experience for folks. So Baozong from Floating Leaves. See what Delphine's suggestion looks like. That looks great. I really, really like the way this looks. It looks different from the green of the leaves, but it still looks like a springtimey tea. I think it looks great, actually, and I think it'll taste good as well. And even if this is a really kind of, you know, flowery setup, there's no smell, right? So even we've chosen things that are not too smelly, so that you're just not drowned in like floral aroma. You can actually smell the baozong if you hand over the, yeah, still smells great. And then imagine, we don't have time to brew the tea. Imagine in both cases what the tea liquor would look like in these cups. So the baozong is dark colored. When it brews up, it's kind of like this light, kind of light green or slightly greenish golden yellow look. When you pour them into these cups, they're going to look different enough from the green on the table that they don't look like too matchy. They don't look like a 80s outfit, like everything's the same color. But they're gonna pop a little bit because the tea's gonna be a little brighter. Yeah. So I hope that you took something away from this little thing. I'm really happy with the results. I think you guys can do better though. So if you're inspired by this, if you found something you wanted to do something different, go outside, go for a walk, get some stuff, make some chashi. Chashi challenge, yo! Yeah! Hope you guys have fun. Thank you! See you guys! So fun! Yeah!